Cillian Murphy recently had some choice words for his film Red Eye, but he wasn't entirely negative.
I think it's a good B movie.
So that got me thinking, is Red Eye a good film? Or is it more in the so bad it's good category? I personally saw Red Eye in theaters and have always had a soft spot for it. But if Oppenheimer's own Cillian Murphy has an issue with it, maybe it's worth a second gander. So let's see whether it's good, bad, or somewhere in between as we revisit Red Eye.
Nice hearing from you, Carlos.
And you're right, most days it is my own business. But right now, as fate would have it, my business is all about you.
It should be stated right from the jump that Cillian Murphy wasn't quite at his current level of superstardom back in 2005. I mean, hell, that was nearly 20 years ago. He was mostly known as the guy from 28 Days Later. He'd also appear in Batman Begins as Scarecrow, so he was certainly on the rise. But this movie was definitely sold on the Wes Craven of it all. Wes Craven was considered one of the maestros of horror, and earlier that year he'd released one of his worst films yet, Cursed. While that film was tampered with by the studios, it left a bad taste in most viewers' mouths. Heck, I made a whole Awfully Good on it, so check that out. So Red Eye also needed to help Craven's horror rep, which was on the downturn. Rachel McAdams had recently had success with both The Notebook and Mean Girls, so she was the perfect lead to get things back on track. The plot of Red Eye can be a little convoluted, but bear with me. McAdams plays Lisa Reisert, a hotel manager who's on her way back to her home in Miami. Unfortunately, there's an assassination plot to take out the United States Deputy Secretary of Homeland Security. Oh, what a mouthful. See, Lisa is such a good manager that she can change the deputy's room without alerting security, because, Lisa knows what she's doing. In order to ensure that this goes down, Cillian Murphy's Jackson Ripner, great name, is tasked with forcing her hand.
Dad, a favor, and stop gambling with his life.
The whole concept of Red Eye is awesome. I always love a good plane movie, as the characters are trapped 30,000 feet in the air with no chance of escape. So introducing what is essentially a kidnapping, and it's just so damn intriguing. And these elements are where the film really excels. The tension of what Ripner is going to do, and whether Lisa will be able to get out of the situation alive, can be felt with every misstep that she takes. You never know whether this will be the thing that gets her, or hell, even her father, killed. Getting away from the thriller aspect, Red Eye has some really fun moments. Rachel McAdams is a legitimately great lead and is very charismatic. Very little has to be done with the actual character because McAdams herself is just so damn likable. In fact, on paper, Lisa Reisert is very focused on her job and is a people pleaser to the nth degree. She's an independent businesswoman with no real personal life outside of her connection with her dad. It would have been easy for this role to come across a bit cold and boring, but McAdams really makes it work and proves why she's such a great leading lady. I think where the B-movie aspect comes into play the most is the entire subplot with the secretary. Sure, I understand that the assassination of a political figure in order to thwart a deal from going through is all the norm. Makes sense. I've watched a lot of 24. I can accept that. But the fact that this organization, who has the power to get Ripner in a seat directly next to Lisa, and can apparently even delay the flight itself, their grand plan is to rent a boat and use a rocket launcher to blow up the room that he's staying in. Let me repeat that. They wanted this man moved into this room so that he can be blown up with a rocket launcher. Seems like the room itself isn't nearly as important as it is just being one that's facing the water. It could have been any one of these rooms. There were countless ways to make the assassination attempt more interesting, and the one they go with is just simply lame. The best part of the whole film is Mr. Jackson Ripner. Cillian's performance is absolutely perfect, with him going from sweet and innocent to evil and terrifying in an instant. The duality makes him so intriguing because you never know when he's going to snap. He plays such an affable lead when we meet him, but there are these little moments where it's clear that something isn't quite right. When he finally switches, it's hard to even imagine the sweet man that he was pretending to be prior. This man is definitely a threat. And where the film really doesn't work is its constant changes in tone. The first act almost feels like a rom-com, with Lisa meeting Jackson at the airport bar and them having several meet-cute moments. Then once the characters get on the plane, things take a turn and we're firmly in a thriller. But just as Lisa leaves the plane, the film also enters this strange political action movie, complete with chases, explosions, and gunfire. The thriller on the plane is easily the most intriguing aspect, but things fall apart a bit as they exit the plane. This is when things are firmly in the B-movie category.
Myself.
I know, Mrs. Taylor, just calm down.
No, don't say that.
Calm down. Calm down.
She told me to calm down.
Don't tell us to calm down. We've been very calm.
Lines like that litter the movie and are hard not to cringe at. The dialogue can best be described as on the nose.
You want us to fill out a comment card?
Yes, I do. And after you finish, you can go ahead and just shove it up your ass.
Hell, a big moment of Lisa finally standing up to Jackson is done in such a corny way.
Ever since, I've been trying to convince myself of one thing over and over.
That it was beyond your control.
No. That it would never happen again.
Which, yeah, could be a great raw women moment if it weren't for this scene earlier where the flight attendants shame them for joining the Mile High Club.
This isn't a motel.
Like I said, conflicting tones. I also want to put a spotlight on something that has made very little sense to me for the last 20 years. So, one of Ripner's big ways of persuading Lisa is that he has an assassin placed outside of her dad's house. He's able to prove this by showing her her father's wallet that the assassin had grabbed at the beginning of the film. But her dad is in Miami. We see that when Lisa comes to his house at the end of the movie. And yes, they do show Jackson opening up a package that contains the wallet just seconds later. But the timing still does not make any sense. Her dad's wallet was just stolen, and then it practically teleports its way across the country. Hell, we even see her dad searching for it when he's on the phone with her minutes later. It's such a dumb thing, but it has always bothered me. And as much as the stuff on the plane is some grade A entertainment, I can't help but roll my eyes when Rachel McAdams is running down an assassin in a Jeep. Then the cat and mouse chase feels straight out of Scream. And if you know me, I love me some Scream. But having your big airplane thriller end in an under construction house feels a bit underwhelming. It feels like multiple movies jammed into one. So I can't help but agree with Murphy and his assessment. And this wasn't even the first time that Murphy was critical of the film. Back in 2001, he said,
I remember when I saw it. I was like, oh, that's kind of a schlocky B movie. Rachel McAdams is excellent in it. But I didn't think I gave a very nuanced performance in it. But listen, if people love the movie, then that's great. I'm pleased with that.
The film even had enough fans to finally get a 4K release last year. But like Cillian Murphy, I'm not sure I'd call this a good film, and his assessment of it being a good B movie feel right on the money. There are some terribly silly moments like the rocket launcher or the entire third act at the house. But the menace of Murphy's Jackson Ripner, combined with McAdams' strong and resilient lead, make this a fun one to revisit.
So what do?
Government overthrows, flashy, high-profile assassinations, the usual.
Red Eye released in the United States on August 19, 2005 and made $16 million on its opening weekend. The film would end its worldwide run at over $95 million. Given its $26 million budget, this was considered quite the success. And it did quite well critically, earning an 80% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. The critical consensus was that, with solid performances and tight direction from Wes Craven, Red Eye is a brisk economic thriller. Even critic Roger Ebert was amongst its champions, giving it 3 stars out of 4 and calling it a good thriller. I've always had a soft spot for this one because of the performances, but can acknowledge the very silly aspects. But I'm a dummy, so what do you guys think? Is Red Eye a bad movie? Is it actually good? Or is it somewhere in between? Let us know in the comments.